Just trying to get the tax.
Trying to get balance back.
Oh, I see. I can see it there's two now. Mhm.
Right, she can hear us.
Turn your mic off again. October.
Okay, we'll try to talk again.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, maybe we'll do that. I will try to see how far I can hear you up.
You can move the mic next to your computer, Jessica.
So you can turn on camera on? At least I can see you, and you can interrupt me if there's any questions or anything, if that sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, how does that sound with the mic in front of the computer?
Okay, yep, everyone can hear you. Perfect.
Good, okay. All right, well, thank you for the short notice on changing this to virtual. I definitely don't think I would have made it down from central Minnesota in time tonight, so appreciate that. Can you see the screen that I'm sharing, Jess, or do you have another one?
Yes, nope, we can see the
Or am I
screen.
being projected?
You're being
Okay.
projected, yes.
Perfect, okay, so, we have our public hearing for taxes payable 2026 for tonight, so, of course, this is a required meeting by Minnesota law, so we have to meet tonight. We're gonna talk about current year budget and the proposed property tax levy, so we're gonna do some quick, background information on school funding, talk about the district's budget a little bit, the levy for 2026, and then open it up for any public or board comments or questions. So first, a little bit of background is that the Minnesota legislature must set the funding for Minnesota public schools. So it's very, very uniform and definitely very regulated. So they're determining all their formula revenue for you, the tax policy for local schools, your maximum amount you can levy, and then they do give the board some authority for certain items, and then of course you can go to voters as well. But otherwise, super highly regulated funding for school districts. So the biggest part of that funding comes from the general education aid. So general education aid is a per pupil formula allowance that you get from the state every year. So the graph in front of you shows the general education per pupil amount from 2003 up to current for 2026. So the figures flow through for any of your funds. Taking a peek at the general fund in particular, the vast majority of your revenue is flowing through from the state. So you can see you have about 80% of your revenue coming through state sources. The vast majority of that is that general education per pupil. So the changes that the state makes in that per pupil formula, and the fact that they're behind in comparison to inflation, is a really big deal for your school district. So your next largest piece of that pie is your local. So that includes the property two other types of property, so agricultural, and this would be at $11,000 an acre, and then a $500,000 commercial property, and still kind of the same story, kind of fluctuating, staying relatively even, and then that jump for the estimate in 2026. So looking at it a little bit differently, these two graphs take into account if you've actually seen some valuation increases in your property, which most of your property owners have. So this is assuming your taxes or your tax valuation went up 7% from 23 to 24, 4% from 24 to 25, and then an additional 2% from 25 to 26. So we start to account for changes in valuation. If you own a $200,000 home this year, it's about it was worth about $176,000 back in taxes payable 23. So really our levies have been really, really consistent over the past 3 years, and this jump is, again, it's for the debt that was approved for those health and safety and the roofing projects. So we always want to make sure when we're talking about this to make sure people are aware of some of those state property tax refunds that you can do. So there is a homestead credit refund. The refund is sliding scale, so it is based on the value of your home and then also your income. But we always encourage everyone to apply every year just to check and see. There is a special property tax refund if you have a particularly high increase in your taxes, and there's no limit on that of your property value or how much income you have. Everyone can qualify for those. There's also the senior citizen property tax deferral, so you can defer a portion of your property taxes on your home, and then when that title changes, then that's when the taxes would be due. And there's also an option if you are itemizing your income taxes to use what you paid in property taxes as a deduction, and then for renters, their property credit now comes through their income tax versus a separate property tax refund. So next steps is we're going to take public comment or board comment on anything in the levy, and then you can move on to your action item. So I can't see anyone but Jessica. So any comments, questions, or anything else we need, or anything you want to see again?
Okay, do we have any board comment?
I'll just add, one of the things is, Beth, thank you for the presentation and detailed analysis. Again, we had you do this last year, in Jessica's absence, and found value in the detailed nature in which you as a third party, that does not indicate a lack of confidence in Jessica. I just want to go on the record for that. But at the same time, our working relationship has been positive, and we want to do that. I just wanted to point out the interesting thing as we've gone about this, and the totality of the proposed 26 tax levy. The point of it doesn't adjust our budget for our general operating expenses. And on the one graph, I don't have the page number on here, but under the overview of the district's proposed property levy for our general levy component, that's actually going down 2.8%. And as I noted in October, over the last 10 years, Fairmont Area Schools District's levy has been negative 50% of the time. So over the last 10 years in the general scope of things, the levy in the end was negative 5 of those 10 years. Now this year we have the significant increase due to those health and safety projects with the roofing, the fire sprinkler system, the HVAC updates. And then next year, the way our enrollment is trending, I would anticipate the stabilization back to our anticipated trends that we've seen over the last decade. Simply because we're using you're using that levy authority to stay ahead of those operational maintenance things, to make sure our HVAC systems stay up to date, to make sure our roofing components are in good shape. And the roofing component was just passed by legislature in the 2025 session as an allowable area for you to levy as a board, which you then exercise to fix our roofs and keep them up to date. So that was something that, as Jessica and I look at our day-to-day operational expenses, in looking forward, anticipating reductions in expenditures from our general fund moving forward, where the increase is directly related to those health and safety projects. So I just wanted to add that detailed comment on that component.
Thank you. Any further comment by the board? All right, then we'll open it up to our public. If there's anyone here that would like to ask questions or comment. Okay.
I would add to anyone who watches the recording or this, or who does have questions, this isn't your only opportunity to ask. Both Jessica and I and board members, all of our contact information is readily available on our school district website. If you're ever wondering how to get a hold of us, you can contact the district office. I am personally speaking for myself, and I'm confident in speaking for Jessica as well, that we are more than happy to have any conversations on school district finance, to answer any questions, to share any reports that we have. They are public documents, the summary that is projected. Happy to go through that in detail with anyone. It's been a significant learning curve for me over the last 5 years in this role. And as Jessica and I continue to learn in our workings together, we continue to refine our processes. But I just want everyone to know that we are more than willing to have those conversations any day, to reach out and schedule time to meet with us, and we're happy to go over any of our district finances at the request of our constituents.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, as I can't speak for anyone else on the board, but I have always been in favor of staying ahead of, we don't want to have things get run down where we're going to end up having to pay a huge expense for a new building. I mean, most of this work that's being done is in the oldest building that we have right now, which is the west wing here of the elementary, which was built in 1954, I believe. And to add new HVAC, make sure the roof is good, floors, all the things that we're going to be looking at, and I think that gives this building another generation of life. And I like tackling those things now and not just kicking the can down the road. I think the building looks great for how old it is because of the work that we've done on it, and I think it's needs to be part of our district for a good time to come, is to keep taking care of what we have and not just let it all get run down. And the community can take pride in it, the students can take pride in it, the people that work here every day. There's 1,000 people running in and out of this building every day, and then junior, senior high school the same. So I'm not at all timid to say I'm glad we've made that action to continue to maintain these buildings as best we can and keep our district facilities as good as you'll find anywhere around.
I'd add to that, Dan. A lot of this is LTFM, which long-term facilities maintenance, that was going to happen anyway, and we are all doing it all at once, which actually saves us a tremendous amount of money. We were going to have to continue to do we have to do those things, and to do it all at once is it's more efficient. It's just the right way to do it, and so I think Beth did a great job again. But is it fair for me to assume that the reason why this levy number is 19% and change is because the debt service to pay for all those repairs is impacting it, and next year that will not impact it because it will already be there.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so it reflects the bond payments. So yes, this is the increase of it, and then it will hold steady.
Perfect. And so, one thing that I'm very proud that we've done as a district is that, we are doing something. This money is fixing dilapidated parts of our roof. It's fixing really ridiculous air quality issues in the whole part of this building. Voters that are paying this tax, all of us included, should be able to come in this building over the next 2 or 3 years and see where that money went. It's not getting frittered away on paper clips and fancy TVs or salaries. This is real money going into the building where our students learn. I just, it's convinced that it's the right thing to do, so I have your comments, Dan. It's something that is a good thing that we're doing.
Okay. Any further comment? Then I can entertain, Jen?
I just have all sets, both of you.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion to approve the 2025 payable 2026 tax levy in the amount of $7,824,044.26.
I'll make that a motion.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Mike and a second by Jen. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, motion carries. Do you have a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn the tax and truth and taxation hearing.
Second.
Motion by Dan, second by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, motion carries.